to another edition of Thunderdome. If you're just joining us, we are in the executive branch. That's Unit 5. We're on 5.3.
Woo! Yeah!
I just want to thank all my subscribers out there. Thank you. I couldn't do this without you guys. Onward. Okay. So, presidential administration. That's where we are. We have no PowerPoint. This is what we're working with. As you can see, this is my handwriting. Do not ask questions about that. It is my handwriting. It's always been my handwriting.
Is it really your handwriting?
Yes, it is.
Good job.
Okay, so the executive office of the president. So what is going on in the White House? So we have the White House office, and so he has these staff members. Okay. The two that we always hear are Chief of Staff and the Press Secretary. The Chief of Staff, that's exactly what it is. So the President talks to the Chief of Staff, and then he or she regulates and passes that information down to the rest of the staff. The Press Secretary deals with the media. It's the person you see talking on behalf of the President in front of the President's podium and in front of the media with tons of cameras on. That is the Press Secretary. Crazy job to have. You have to be unbelievably quick and understand almost everything going on in government. The role of the White House office screens the flow of information and people trying to reach the President. So this office puts out the information that the executive branch wants to be put out. Okay? They could be asked a question by the media, in the press room, and they can totally deflect it on purpose because it doesn't make sense for them to answer that question at that time. Then we have the Office of Management and Budget. That can sometimes look like OMB, and that's exactly what you think it is. It prepares the federal budget and it helps the President monitor spending in the government. Remember that the executive branch proposes the budget, and then the legislative branch works with the budget, changes it if it needs changes, and then it's a system of checks and balances, as always. Then we have the National Security Council. So this coordinates military and foreign policy and deals with matters of safety and security. The supervisor of the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency, we'll look at that here in a little bit. Vice President, Secretary of State and Defense, Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, those are people who are in this council. Imagine we're about to go to war, or maybe we have decided that we need to bomb somebody or something like that. These people are meeting in this room called the War Room. They're making decisions basically to protect our nation or to protect another nation that can't protect itself. Then we have the Council of Economic Advisors. So this gives the President advice about complex economic matters like unemployment, inflation, foreign trade, helps the President carry out his role as economic leader. Okay, so remember, unemployment and inflation and all that kind of stuff always gets put on the President. You always hear the economy was so good under President so-and-so. It's his job, or her job. That is what is it's going to fall on their shoulders. Okay, so let's see if that works. I need a scroller at my desk immediately.
You got your Coach Viv.
That shows it.
Geez, your chair's low.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Keep on, scroll down a little bit until this moment. Oh, no, right below. Yes, right there. That's perfect. Thank you so much, Caleb. All right, federal bureaucracy. And that's just how the government is set up. So like tiered government, pretty much. So bureaucracy has a lot of stuff called red tape. And it just takes a long time to get things done in a bureaucracy. Terrible word to say, even worse word to spell. So all people responsible for making sure the many departments of government run effectively and efficiently. So we have political appointees, the civil service system, civil service workers, spoil system, merit system. We're going to talk about all these things. So political appointees. So top leadership jobs are given to people who have proven their ability to the president. Employment usually ends when the president leaves office. So there's some people, we just witnessed this. A lot of people who worked under Trump left with Trump because Biden's bringing in his people who he trusts. So that's something that happens pretty regularly whenever we change power. The civil service system, this is a practice of hiring government workers based on who scored the highest on tests for the particular job applied for. This is important because before this, we were working with this thing called the spoil system. The spoil system was basically government corruption. So it's a previous practice of appointing people to government jobs as a reward for their political support. Oh, you scratched my back? Well, I'll give you this job, even though you're not qualified for it. That's what the spoil system was about. So moving down, civil service worker is an individual hired to a government job based on their ability to, on a government test. They will keep their job when the president leaves office because it really doesn't have anything to do necessarily with the president. Remember, he is the boss of 3 million civilian workers. So these people don't get necessarily fired every single time a president changes jobs. A park ranger at Yellowstone isn't going to get fired. Okay? We just talked about the spoil system. The Pendleton Act outlawed the spoil system. Again, this just led to government corruption. You were giving people jobs that didn't deserve them, and then they couldn't do the job, and then they tried to keep their job by any ways that they could. So we come up with this thing called the merit system. So government workers are hired based on their merit, how well they do on rigorous written exams about the job desired. So this is the basis for the civil service system. So that's kind of federal bureaucracy explained pretty shortly. Okay, scroll down there. Right, give me right above independent agencies. Let's see if we can fit it all in there. Scroll down. So you will find the answer to your exit ticket right here. So independent agencies. You've heard of these before. So not part of the cabinet, which we'll talk about here in a second. Not independent of the president. Okay, he appoints the directors of these agencies. We have 3 types of agencies. Executive agencies, and they deal with specialized areas within the government. NASA, the CIA. Again, this is your exit ticket. And then you have government corporations, which is another form of an agency. So these government corporations make money for the government. So like businesses, but they're run by the government, not run by private individuals. People buy their services and products, but the government corporations are not supposed to make a profit. They're just supposed to be able to pay their employees and have enough money to exist. So examples of this is the United States Postal Service and Amtrak, which is the National Railroad Passenger Corporation. Has anybody ever ridden on Amtrak? On a train anywhere?
Probably,
No.
No?
No.
Hmm? Not in the US. Yeah. And I'm not talking about subways or anything like that. I'm talking about like a train system. And then we have regulatory boards and commissions. What are they? they make and enforce certain rules for industries or groups in order to protect the public. So there are certain things that, like power, right? So like power companies, communication companies like television companies and all that kind of stuff, broadcast companies, newspapers, all that kind of stuff, radio stations are all regulated by the government because they cross state lines. So if you scroll down just a little bit, Caleb, we'll see a couple examples of these. So we have the ICC, which is the Interstate Commerce Commission, that is just between states. And then the FTC, Federal Trade Commission. And then the one that you probably know is the FCC, so Federal Communications Commissions. The FCC makes rules about what can be shown on TV when. So after 9 o'clock on television, network television, which would be like CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox, all that kind of stuff, it can get a little bit more risque, and they can use a little bit more risky language and all that kind of stuff because children are asleep. Now, for the pay channels like HBO or anything else, honestly, USA, ESPN, all that kind of stuff, you know, you're paying for those services, so they have a little bit more leeway. But if for some reason on the radio you say a bad word, you could get in trouble by the FCC because anybody can listen to the radio, even a minor, and they say that that's, you know, not, it's against FCC code and regulations, and it'll probably be dumped out. I don't know if you know anything about that, but there's like a dump button on radio stations. So if somebody's getting interviewed and they curse, or somebody calls and they say, you know, you just won tickets to see Erykah Badu. You're like, oh, and you curse because you're excited. There's a dude there that presses a button and it blanks that out. There's like a 3-second, you know, buffer between what's being said and what's going out on air. And they do that so they don't get fined by the FCC. So all of that, those are government regulations. All right, let's go down to the cabinets. Low. I thought you were my scroller. Okay, let's go here. Okay, cabinets. So there's 15 cabinets, so departments in the executive branch. And these people work very closely with the president and his or her view of what should be going on. So what is the role of a particular cabinet or department? Advise the president on issues related to their department. So here we go. In chronological order, the first department is the Department of State. It was established in 1789 by George Washington. Still exists today. So the Department of State plans and carries out the nation's foreign policies. This person would be the Secretary of State, would go and talk to foreign leaders on behalf of the president to make, establish good relations with foreign countries. It's huge. You know, let's see, number 5 on the presidential succession list, I think. So if the president dies, the vice president becomes president. If the vice president dies, then we go to the Speaker of the House. Speaker of the House dies, President pro tempore, and then right after that is the Department of State. And then it goes in order right here. So we're looking at the people who would become president if something crazy happened. Next we have the Department of Treasury, 1789 again, established by George Washington. It collects, borrows, and spends and prints money. Then Department of Defense in 1789, also established by Washington, manages the armed forces. Then we have the Department of Justice, DOJ, 1870. Oh, I guess we're not going in chronological order. So Ulysses S. Grant establishes this. So responsible for all aspects of law enforcement. Now, here's a weird thing. Every single person in a cabinet, the head of the cabinet is called the Secretary of, right? Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Department of Defense would be Secretary of Defense, except for DOJ. The Attorney General is what they're known as. Okay? So the Department of Justice has the Attorney General as its leader. Department of the Interior, established by President Taylor, manages and protects the nation's public lands and natural resources. Very important with national parks. Then we have Department of Agriculture in 1889. William Harrison assists farmers and consumers of farm products. Then we have Department of Commerce, 1903, supervises trade, promotes U.S. tourism and business. Department of Labor, 1913, concerned with the working conditions and wages of U.S. workers. This is a big time where labor unions were coming up, and the government had to deal with them somehow. Department of Health and Human Services in 1953, works for the health and well-being of all Americans. Then we have the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So the year here, 1965, this coincides with the Civil Rights movement and the Civil Rights Act. So it deals with special needs and problems of cities. Then we go to the Department of Transportation. That manages the nation's highways, railroads, airlines, and sea traffic. Department of Energy, 1977, directs an overall energy plan for the nation. 79, we have the Department of Education. The federal government really doesn't do much for education. That's always based in state and local governments. But we might see that change in our lifetime. I hope so. And then, so that provides advice and funding for schools. Departments of Veterans Affairs, this established by George Herbert Walker Bush, the first Bush, in 1989, direct services for veterans. And then our last one was created after an event. What event do you think helped create the Department of Homeland Security? 9/11. Yeah. Oversees America's defenses against terrorist attacks. And that right there, that's the executive branch. I mean, again, like I said, there's 3 million civilian workers underneath that. But, you know, this right here, that's the meat of what's going on with the executive branch. So whenever you think about Congress, you think about the 2 houses, and you think about senators, and you think about, you know, the House of Representatives and all that kind of stuff. When you think about the executive branch, you should think about the president. But then you should know that there are people advising the president in every single aspect of government. And those people are really smart. At least they're supposed to be. All right, we got any questions about anything?
I'm good, Coach B.
Yes, I'm talking about Crouchy. Anybody else? Any big plans this weekend?
Yep.
Let's go. All right, hey, there's a new policy in signing off of Zoom. It's been directed by the front office, aka me. You have to say bye before you leave. Yeah. You can type it or you can say it, but it's just so rude to sign off. Bye. Abby, I'll take that as a bye. Bye-bye.
Do I have to say bye?
You can say
Yes, I can hear you.
Can I say goodbye?
goodbye.
Goodbye, Coach B.
Goodbye, Coach.
I don't know. I don't know who's playing
Bye the coolie man. Bye. Now there's one person who might not say bye.
Nate Shaw.
He's still here.
And it is a young man named Nate Shaw. Nate, I will be waiting here until you say bye.
What are you doing?
Could you stop sharing my screen up there? Just click that red button up top, stop share.
What did you do, Caleb?
Change his name to the sleep.
Nate! It's Coach V!
What are you talking about?
Dang.
He didn't say bye!
Dang.
You guys are harassing him.
Yeah, harassing him. He's harassing me by not saying anything.
Mean we.
You know, inaction is action, isn't it, Brooke? What if I told him that he hurt my feelings? How far would that go with old Nate Shaw?
He would be, okay. He would be like, okay.
Maybe a little, maybe I'll do an impression of Nate. I don't know him. This is it. Ready?
I know Nate.
You ready for it?
Yeah,
Bruh, like what?
probably.
Really? Am I close?
A little bit. Nate's shy.
Nate Shy? I thought it was Nate Shaw.
Wow, you're so funny.
I had a blast today, guys.
I'm gonna have a blast outside of the football field.
Watch your mouth.
Hi, Drescher.
No.
No.
Save it for football. Warm yourself up. Oh, that's nasty. That's nasty. Whose is this?
Oh, it's mine, my bad. I was in the egg ticket.
What is this?
It's mine.
Computer.
Teacher who overreacts to everything.
You like that place?
Oh my gosh, somebody, turn off my camera.
I'll get it, Coach V.
I can hear it.
Unless Landon can figure out how to do it. Landon, what button do I push?
Are you
What button do I
You know
push?
what button to push.